Islam. Islam 101.
Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi amma ba'du. Welcome to another episode of Islam 101, the basics of the tenets of the religion of Al-Islam, a program designed to give you, the respected viewer, a clear and concise understanding of the basic concepts and theories and fundamentals of the religion of Al-Islam. I'm your host, Abu Usamah Adh-Dhahabi, and I'm flanked by a number of my respected students and guests. To my right, we have Brother Noor from Jakarta, Indonesia. And to his immediate right, we have Peter, who happens to be from the southern part of Sudan, and he's from the Dinka tribe. And to my left, we have Brother Muhammad, who's from Afghanistan. And to his immediate left, we have Brother Ayman, who is actually from Egypt. So we welcome all of you, and we welcome our respected viewers. Today, inshallah, our topic is centered around and is concerning itself with the role of the scholars in Al-Islam. The role of the scholars in Al-Islam. The scholars have the ability to make things permissible and impermissible. Should the scholars be obeyed unconditionally? If a scholar were to tell me something that went against the religion of Al-Islam, am I obligated to obey him? If I see a particular scholar doing other than what he is saying, he's stealing the people's money and he's telling the people to be upright and to be just, do I still continue to give him reverence and respect simply because he's a scholar? Is that the way the religion of Al-Islam is? That we take for ourselves monks and priests. They can do whatever they want to do. I go to the scholar and he has the ability to curse me, and then when he curses me, I become afraid because the scholar cursed me. Is that the religion of Al-Islam? Concerning the scholars in Al-Islam, their job, their role, their function has been clearly defined in the Quran and in the authentic Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the practical applications that we see from his companions, who were, by the way, the greatest scholars in Al-Islam. Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, they were from the scholars of this religion. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Abbas were scholars from this religion. Ubay ibn Ka'b, a scholar from the religion. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, a scholar from the religion. So we look at those companions and we take them as the first example of what the scholars are after we look at Rasulullah, because they took their example from him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Verily, the Messenger of Allah was sent to mankind, and he was sent to the jinn, the spirits that have been created from a smokeless fire. And we gave a talk about who the jinn were and the difference between the jinn and the angels and human beings. So Rasulullah, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, he was sent to mankind and he was sent to the jinn. When he came to both of these groups, he came to call them, to take them out of the depths of darkness, of disbelief, and the depths and darkness of superstition and ascribing partners to Allah the Most High. And when he came, his coming forth is a sign that the day of judgment is close. The fact that he was sent, as he said, verily I have been sent close to the establishment of the hour. Like this, when he came, that means that the last day is very close. So he gave us a number of examples and a number of signs to look for concerning the last day. One of those signs is that he told us, verily knowledge is going to be taken away. Knowledge of the religion is going to be taken away. And I say to Steve, and I say to the non-Muslim audience, as well as the Muslim audience, the vast majority of Muslims, unfortunately, do not know the religion of Al-Islam. And what I mean is, they don't really know the religion. Al-Islam has become a part of our culture, and that's it. But if you ask someone, show me how Rasulullah prayed. You pray 5 times a day? Show me. You'll find that person who doesn't raise his hand. You'll find that person who keeps his hand below his navel. You'll find that person who doesn't know what to read, how to go down, how to come up. Even though the prayer is something that we do every day, 5 times at least a day. You'll ask some of the Muslims about the most important concept, monotheism, Tawheed. Who was Allah? And what does he do and what does he not do? You'll find some Muslims have even lost this particular point. So what we want to mention now is, from the signs that the last day is here, is that knowledge of the religion will be taken away. He also said that from the signs is that people will search for a knowledge عند الأصاغر. عند الأصاغر. Knowledge will be searched for and sought after with the asagir, which comes from the word sagir, to be small. But it doesn't mean a small person or a young person. It means that knowledge will be sought from the people who are deviants, the people who don't know the religion. And I can attest to this because when I became a Muslim, I met different groups of Muslims. I met one group of Muslims who told me that we should all sit in the circle like we're in right now, and we put a green handkerchief in the middle of the circle and a white handkerchief in the middle of the circle, and then we turn the lights off. And then we all rock back and forth and say, hooah, 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 hooah. When I asked them, where does that come from? Where did you get that from? I want to do it, but just show and prove to me that that's from the religion. They said, you have to ask the sheikh, our teacher, who was from the asagir. Because when I asked the sheikh, he couldn't answer anything other than say that I don't love Rasulullah. No, inshallah, I love Rasulullah. But I love my religion as well. And I don't want my religion to be just following what people tell me, like I used to be Steve with my mother and my father. My mother and my father told me when I started reading the Bible and I started studying about Christianity, studying it academically, not just what I heard, academically. I would go to my parents with the contradictions of the Bible and they would tell me, no, honey, no, son, you just have to believe. I say, hey, there are some things I just believe. I don't see Allah, but I believe. I don't see the brain that's in Muhammad's head, but I believe he has a brain and he has a heart. I believe that. But I'm not going to believe that which is a contradiction. So, in any event, from the signs of the hour is that people will search for knowledge with the people of deviation. It's not talking about a young person, because a young person can have knowledge of the religion and he can be from the scholars. So what is the role of the scholar in Islam, and what's his responsibility, and what is his position? The Prophet told us, may the peace and blessings of Allah forever be upon him. Verily, he is not from us. He is not from the Muslims. That individual who does not have mercy upon our youth, our youngsters, nor does he respect the elders, nor does he know the right of the scholar. He's not from the people of Islam who know those 3 critical issues. He has mercy upon his child and other people's children when he sees them in the street. The child breaks his car window. The child does something wrong. The elder Muslim doesn't say, may the curse of Allah be upon you, you dog, you donkey. No, we're supposed to call that child, come here, educate him. Maybe tell his parents on him if we see him smoking cigarettes, watching and looking at a porno magazine. We're supposed to have mercy upon them. And the one who is older than us, whether it's your parents or someone who's your neighbor, he is not from us, the one who doesn't respect the elders from amongst us. But the point is, he is not from us, the one who doesn't know the position of the scholar. So the scholar has a tremendous position in the religion of Islam. Allah commanded us in the Quran, and he said, ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. If you don't know your religion, it's not up to you, Akhi Noor. It's not up to you, Akhi Ayman. It's not up to you, Ya Akhi Muhammad al-Afghani. It's not up to you, Steve, if you're trying to find out about Islam, to go and to ask someone who's ignorant about the religion. Wallahi, you may find that the donkey that's pulling a cart in the street may know more about Islam than that individual. There are certain Muslims, if it was time to pray, he doesn't know what to do or how to pray. So you have to ask the people of knowledge in our religion. What's their job? What's their function? The Prophet told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, يَحْمِلُ هَذَا الْعِلْمِ مِنْ كُلِّ خَلَفٍ عُدُولُهُ. There will always be a group of scholars for this ummah, for this nation. There will always be a group of scholars who will carry this knowledge, and they'll be responsible for this knowledge. What do they do? What do they do? يَنْفُونَ عَنْهُ تَحْرِيفِ الْغَالِينَ. They will prevent the people who have al-ghulu, the people who go to extra measures and the extremists. The scholars will stop them That's why we see in the world today with this so-called topic of terrorism, we don't like that the Muslims are being oppressed in Afghanistan, in Palestine, in Iraq, or wherever it is. We do not accept that. It's oppression, and it's a double standard. In Africa, Africa is being oppressed. We don't like that. But at the same time, two wrongs don't make a right. The scholars come and they tell us, all of the scholars of Islam, it's not permissible for you to have excesses and to go overboard and kill innocent people. So that's one of the responsibilities of the scholars. Another responsibility of the scholars is that they do away with the ta'wil of the jahilin. Those people who give ignorant, foolish interpretations of the Quran and the Sunnah. All you have to do is take the Quran. You don't have to have the Sunnah. A man can marry 9 women in Islam. He can marry 2 or 3 or 4. So his interpretation of the ayat is you can marry 9 women. You don't have to pray. Islam is in your heart. The woman doesn't have to put hijab on or the Islamic garb. The scholars come and they do away with dispelling those lies and those myths. That's one of their second functions. And the last one is that they do away with the falsehood of the mubtilin. Those people who are just claiming the claims and they're making the claims that they make. The scholars' responsibility and their job is to do away with that as well. So those are some of the functions of the scholars. One of the most important functions of the scholars is that Allah mentioned an ayat or a verse in the Quran when He said about describing the Muslim community and the hypocrites who are in the Muslim community. Those people who have disbelief in the inside, but they're claiming that they're Muslims on the outside. And we have a lot of them in the Muslim countries. Some of our children are even hypocrites. They claim that they're Muslims on the outside. But if you have the ability to open them up when they're by themselves, you'll see that when they're with non-Muslims, they talk bad about Islam. When they're with non-Muslims, they do everything that non-Muslims do. They even doubt about the reality of Islam. But Allah mentioned their situation. Whenever He said, when Allah said in the Quran, and if something happens to the community, the Muslim community, by way of something that is concerning the aman, the safety of the community, or something has happened that's going to compromise the safety of the community, you'll find those munafiqeen, those hypocrites, that they will go around spreading it, just talking about it. They don't know what happened. They didn't know the details of it. But before getting the whole picture, they'll start making lies and spreading gossip, making more confusion. Allah said, had they only referred it back to Allah and those who had knowledge amongst them, then the ones with knowledge and Rasulullah, they would have extracted, they would have deduced from the issue the best thing to do. And if it wasn't for the rahmah of Allah and His fadl upon you, you all would have went and followed the shaitan, the Satan, except a few of you. We're going to stop right here, inshallah, with this particular issue, the place of the scholars in Islam. And we'll come back as we usually do, inshallah, and we'll see about the participation of our students. So try to tune in to the second half of this program, the scholars and their position in Islam.
Islam 101.
Ark of Noah.
We're going to be mentioning the significance of the Ark of Noah.
Knowledge is the essence of everything. Once you get the knowledge, then it generates the desire and the motivation, and then it brings about the action.
And we're going to be discussing the state of the Ummah and the division which unfortunately has appeared in it, and the methodology of trying to arrive at the right path.
Your system of knowledge or your system of motivation are hit by any of these threats, you will definitely go astray and you will be suffering from a disease in the heart.
We're also going to be discussing what Allah wants from us.
How can we make that? Allah gave us the revelation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing first and foremost the companions. If they believe in what you have believed in, then they are guided. So the real guidance is what the Prophet ﷺ and the companions were upon.
Join Sheikh Mutassim in the program Ark of Noah and discover the answers to these questions.
Islam 101.
Welcome back to Islam 101. We've been discussing the position and the place and the responsibility of the scholars in Islam, the ulama in Islam. Those people who Allah the Most High mentioned about them, verily Allah has raised in degrees those from amongst you who believe and who have been given knowledge, meaning the scholars. they have been raised in this life as well as the next life. They're the ones who Allah mentioned concerning them. Say, Ya Muhammad, to the people, are they equal? Those who know and those who don't know? No, they're not equal. The scholars are on a higher plateau. The ones who the Prophet said about them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, verily the prophets and the messengers, the prophets, they do not leave behind any inheritance. They do not leave any money behind to be inherited by any of their family members. They don't leave the dinar or the dirham, the dollar or the pound. They don't leave that behind. But what they leave behind is knowledge. They leave behind knowledge. He said that the scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. So whoever takes that knowledge that the prophets left behind, they have taken the massive, mammoth, beneficial portion. So the scholars are the warathatul anbiya. They are the inheritors who have inherited from the prophets. That's the position of the scholars in Islam. But that does not mean, again, that the scholar has been given a position like certain monks and priests and preachers in the church. No, this is not the case. A scholar has a moral obligation and a religious obligation to also toe the line. He has a great responsibility. And the one who says something and he does something else, he's going to be dealt with severely on the day of judgment. The scholar will be brought on the day of judgment. And it will be said to him, when the people see him in the hellfire, going around dragging his intestines. He's going to be in the hellfire, dragging his intestines, going around a machine, grinding some things. They're going to say, hey, you, the scholar, didn't you used to order us and command us to do the right things? And now you're here and this is your punishment? What happened? He said, yes, I used to order you to do correctly, but I wouldn't do it. I used to prohibit you from doing the incorrect things, and I would do the incorrect things. So this is my recompense. Those people who give the Friday sermon for the Muslims in the masjids, they give lessons. The Prophet was taken on the night journey from Mecca to Jerusalem, and we talked about that. Al-Isra, the night journey from Mecca to Bayt al-Maqdis in Jerusalem. And there he prayed with all of the prophets and the messengers. Adam, Noah, Ibrahim, Jesus, Moses, and he prayed with all of the prophets. And then he went to the seven heavens. When he went to the seven heavens, he saw a number of things. And one of the things that he saw was that there were a group of people who their faces were being scratched with copper claws, with copper nets and these knives that were put in holes in their cheeks. He asked Gabriel, oh, Gabriel, who are those people? Gabriel said, those are the people from your nation who used to give the Friday sermon. They would tell the people to do certain things and they were doing something else. So that's their punishment. The scholar of Al-Islam, he has a great responsibility, a tremendous responsibility. So with that being the case, we have to recognize and we have to acknowledge their place. And as Al-Imam Ahmed said, and he's one of the scholars, he used to say to us, beware of taking any position in Al-Islam. Beware. Don't take a position in Al-Islam unless you know of a scholar who preceded you to that particular issue. Because you're not a scholar. So don't take any position that you don't know who was the scholar who preceded you to that particular issue. So the scholars in Al-Islam, they have a tremendous position. We respect them, we honor them, we give them their due reverence, but we do not worship them. If the scholar dies and he's buried in his grave, we don't go to his grave and slaughter at his grave. We don't go to his grave and hold our hands up and say, oh Allah, please give to me because of him. Nor do we say because to the scholar, oh Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jailani, ask Allah to give me this, ask Allah to give me that. No, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by himself. If the scholar were to command us to do what was wrong, or he commanded us and he said to do something that was against the correct position, then we're not going to listen to him. So we're going to open up the door now for the participation of our brothers. We'll start with Brother Muhammad on my left.
Yes, my question, in 4 schools of Islam, sometimes we can find some differences between them. So in this case, what can we do? Which way we should take?
This is a big topic. The 4 schools of thought, the madhahib in Al-Islam, sometimes they differ in their opinions. What should we do? If you are a person who has the ability to discern and distinguish between the truth and what is not truth, then it is your responsibility to take what is correct. But if you don't have the ability to make that type of ijtihad, to discern and distinguish between what's correct and incorrect, then Allah told you to ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. So once you see that a scholar said a particular thing and you don't know, you don't have the ability to discern, then it's permissible for you to follow that position because you are just a muqallid. You are a muqallid. You are a person who's just following the way of the one who knows more than you. But if you have the ability, for an example, in a particular madhab, it says you shouldn't raise your hands, for an example. But there are too many hadith, Rasulullah tells you should raise your hand. And you can read those hadith and they're clear. It's not permissible for you to say, but Imam Abu so-and-so, he said not to do it. Or my madhab said not to do it. This is not permissible in this case. Another thing concerning this particular question and this issue is, I'm on a particular madhab. Brother Muhammad may be on another madhab. Brother Ayman is on a third madhab. Brother Noor is on another madhab. So whenever we come to an issue that there's a difference amongst us, I do not hate him because he's against me or my madhab in that particular issue. This is not permissible. This is not permissible. When the scholars of Islam took these positions, they made ijtihad, they made the effort to arrive at the correct position. But if they get it right, they get 2 rewards. If they get it wrong, they only get 1 reward. Okay, Steve.
Yeah, my question is to the people who make jihad.
Jihad.
Jihad, yeah. If think that has do it, is accepted or no?
Concerning the issue of jihad, if a person wants to know how to pray in Islam and he doesn't know, Allah told him, ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. That's in the prayer. So when you pray the morning prayer, it only takes about 7 minutes, 10 minutes at the most. So we have to ask the scholar how to pray if we don't know. What about an issue like jihad that involves spilling people's blood, taking people's property, destroying where people live and so forth and so on, because that's a part of war? Do you think that that is going to be left open to the interpretation and to the discussion of people who don't know anything about the religion? Of course not. It's up to the people to go back to the scholars of Islam, especially in issues concerning making the private parts permissible or making the private parts impermissible. This is an issue for the scholars, not for you, it's not for me. As it relates to the issues of the people's monies and their property, don't be a person who takes liberties and say, no, you can't inherit that much and you can't inherit that much. It's the monies of the people. You can't say that. And when it comes to the spilling of the blood of the people, the Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a man will always have the chance to be forgiven by Allah as long as he does not spill the blood that is impermissible for him to spill. So it is the responsibility of the job of the scholars to determine that. And I say, as I've been saying, and I continue to say it, inshallah, because this is our call and this is our responsibility. Everyone is not a scholar. Everyone who can give a nice lecture is not a scholar. The person who can give a nice Friday sermon is not a scholar. The one who can talk and make you inspired is not a scholar. There may be a person who can give a nice lecture, but he doesn't really know much about the religion. And there may be a scholar who, when you listen to his lecture, is not that, it doesn't make you feel so good. But that doesn't mean that we make the one who gives a nice lecture the scholar, and the scholar is just anybody. No. As Aisha said, and it's in Sahih Muslim, in the beginning of the book, the Muqaddimah of Sahih Muslim, Inna umirna an nunazzil an-nasa manaziluhum. We've been ordered to put everyone in their proper place. The scholar is the scholar. The student is the student. The ignorant one is the ignorant one. The mother is the mother. The child is the child. The father is the father. And so forth and so on. So it is the scholar who determines for us when is the jihad. Where is the jihad? It's not for any of these people. Not a single person who's calling to this issue of jihad today, where they blow up people and so forth. Without an exception, are they from the scholars of Islam? Nor has any of the scholars of the religion said that this was okay. Okay. Noor.
Do we have a right to make ijtihad, and do we may have a different opinion with the scholar?
Is it okay for the regular Muslim like us to make ijtihad? And is it permissible for us to disagree with the position and the opinion of the scholar? Yes, everyone has to have some level of ijtihad or effort that he has to make. Everyone. When you hear things, you have to make some level of ijtihad. When Rasulullah came to the non-Muslims of Mecca, he told them to say La ilaha illallah. Those people responded by saying, do you want us to leave the religion of our fathers? No, you people have to make ijtihad, because he started giving them examples to prove to them and to show them why that position of theirs was faulty and why they should follow him. So even though they were ignorant about the religion, they still had a responsibility of listening and making a level of ijtihad. So on a small level, on a personal level, you have to make some efforts of ijtihad. But it's not for the regular Muslim to begin to make ijtihad in the major issues of al-Islam, whether it concerns himself or whether it concerns the other people. Those people are called in al-Islam the Ruwaybida. The Ruwaybida. Rasulullah said that the Ruwaybida are the people, the insignificant man. He's insignificant. And yet, he talks about the affairs of the people. He tells this person, no, you're divorced. He tells this person, no, that's jihad. He tells this person, no, he's a non-Muslim. Go take his money. In the UK, there are a group of people in the United Kingdom, right now as I speak, right now, because I disagree with some of the things that they say that I'm a non-Muslim, and therefore it's okay for the people to shed my blood simply because I disagree with them on certain issues. Is that the religion? They say that anyone who doesn't believe that I'm a non-Muslim, then you're a non-Muslim. Noor, do you think I'm a non-Muslim? Do you think I'm a non-Muslim?
No.
Or do you think I'm a Muslim?
You're Muslim.
Those people say, no, you, Noor, are a non-Muslim because you don't say that I'm a non-Muslim. And so this is the example of the nonsense, and this is the example and the result of people following their desires. The great scholars of al-Islam, like, I'll give you an example, some of them have died recently, like, there's a scholar of hadith, his name is Muhammad Nasiruddin al-Albani. He's a scholar that people should know about because he cleaned up the hadith and distinguished for us the weak hadith from the authentic hadith. He died a few years ago. These people say that he's a non-Muslim. Ibn Baz is a non-Muslim. Ibn Uthaymeen is a non-Muslim. So what can we do with people who their intellect is like that? The Ruwaybida. So we're going to stop here, and we ask Allah to make it easy for us and to make it easy for you and to give us the guidance of al-Islam. Looking forward in the next upcoming chapter, inshallah, an episode of Islam 101 to have you as a respected viewer. Take care. May Allah protect.
Islam. Islam. Islam.